Hey, this is Gary Mitchell. This is another Gary on Manufacturing, recording this on for a YouTube as well as for my regular podcast that's been going on for a long time. And before I start, I am at a software conference, but I give a shout out to my sponsor, who's another software company, a little bit competitive, but not entirely. That's Inductive Automation, my longtime sponsor, regular sponsor. And they just say discover a whole new perspective in industrial automation with Ignition. Ignition is their main product line, packed with innovative features for the motor control system, such as unlimited licensing, high-powered tags, and a mobile first flexibility and intuitive built-in design environment. Ignition supports enterprises of any size or industry. See all Ignition has to offer at inductiveautomation.com. And now Ignition has moved to the cloud, and you can get a cloud edition of Ignition. I can't talk a lot about it right now because I haven't had a deep dive, but if you are moving to the cloud, you can move Ignition with you. Interestingly enough, I'm starting to hear comments that perhaps the cloud is too expensive, like AWS and Azure and all those side of things. And I've heard of some people trying to save money by going the other way. So, but regardless, Ignition, whichever way you want to go, that is good. There's certainly a lot to be said for the cloud environment. And interestingly enough, cloud was one of the major themes, and you can see behind me if you're watching on YouTube that cloud, software as a service, or whatever, blank X as a service, it was certainly highlighted. They had a media analyst conference in addition to their general user conference going on, and you can see behind me the show floor. There's a general session going on, so I picked that where this is a quieter time to be recording here from the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. At any rate, in the conference, no, I should mention behind me, you can't see, but there are a lot of stands and booths behind me. And if you were not blind, you could tell that one of the main themes is digital thread. And there's a lot of discussion in the media analyst conference about digital thread also. They have you call it a product, they actually call it a platform. It's kind of the underlying foundation. It's called Siemens Accelerator or Accelerator. There was some talk about branding in one of the sessions, but I'm not going to go there. It's without an E, Accelerator, and things are built on it. So they talked about in the session. So Siemens Digital encompasses from SolidWorks and NX, design software, to Teamcenter, which was acquired some 16 years ago now. And Teamcenter and it's PLM, product lifecycle management sort of things. And then they have an MES, or they call it MOM, manufacturing operations management software, and then other software in addition. And they're talking about how they're modularizing things and along the thread. So if Accelerator is kind of like the digital thread, then you have maybe from design, so you pick the design thing you need and drop it into the thread, and it goes to maybe some other software, and you pick the modules out, and then you have a common digital thread where the digital twin can race along, and you can go all the way from design to metaverse, should you so desire. Kicking off the media analyst conference, we heard that Siemens is the number one automation supplier in the world and the number one industrial software supplier in the world. And industrial software for Siemens, I just mentioned, goes all the way from the most basic design package to really complex design, from SolidWorks to NX, into product lifecycle management, PLM as it's called, and into operations management, and and in interfacing into your enterprise systems, leveraging into your operations systems and maintenance systems altogether. So Siemens Digital, and I have to pause here and go back in history a little bit. I listened to the senior vice president of strategy and marketing, and then the CEO of Siemens Digital, Tony Himmelgarn, speak at the analyst conference, and it made me think about maybe it was, I tried to find on my blog, I can't find it right now, but maybe about 2006 at the ARC conference in Florida. I had a conversation with a German vice president. It wasn't of the Americas. He was, I don't know, a vice president of what, but we had a conversation, extended conversation about digital factory. And I said, well, that all sounds good. Are you going to be able to do it? And in the next year, in the intervening year, Siemens acquired a company called UGS. UGS itself was a conglomeration. They had picked up a number of things, SolidWorks, Team Center, and I forget that company's name, and US Data, and a bunch of others that I had followed up till then. And so Siemens bought UGS. Now, me being me, in hopefully a somewhat pleasant tone of voice, I looked at this vice president from Germany and I said, you realize Siemens has a terrible track record of acquisitions, of integrating them into the company. They had bought a couple of automation companies and thought that, oh, well, what we really bought was customers and we'll just convert them over to Siemens stuff from the products and that didn't go well. And there was, it just didn't go well. And he looked at me and he said, we know and we have learned. And they did a couple of number of things when they made the acquisition and they formed like the new division. They brought a Siemens executive to pair with the UGS executive to run things and to help integrate. And by golly, that was 2007. So I talked to that guy in 2007, 2008, somewhere way back in there. And so we're 15 years later, and I'm listening to Tony Himmelgarn speak and other people. And I've already written about this in the last few years. They have really brought it together. I mean, the integration, and Himmelgarn mentioned that since he has been CEO, they've made, and I didn't write the number down, but I recall he said 33 acquisitions into Siemens Digital, which is the software arm. And some were, quite small acqui-hires and that kind of thing, and some were much larger, and so on. One of which was Mendex, which is a really cool low-code, no-code platform, which they use extensively throughout the whole system. And they've all integrated, and you listen to it and you talk to people and watch the show floor and all that sort of stuff. Quite frankly, I'm amazed. I don't see very many acquisitions go that well. I had a long talk with an executive at another automation company once, and that was when the rumors about people acquiring Rockwell Automation were all over the place. Those have mostly died off now. But anyway, he told me, he said, oh, of course, every company looks at who they can acquire. And we took one look at Rockwell Automation and said we would never be able to absorb them, which is what I said when Emerson was floating the stuff that they wanted to make a hostile takeover of Rockwell. I said, you'd never integrate them. It just wouldn't work. It'd just be a mess. And I've seen so many messes in my life from small to large. And so anyway, this worked. They have put this together. I talked about the accelerator platform. It's like they call it a portfolio, an ecosystem. And I've got my quite a lot of notes here, but an ecosystem, actually even a marketplace. They tried the marketplace idea with shoot, I keep forgetting the name of the company, or the software they had, which is now called Insight Hub. But anyway, they tried that marketplace idea where people could build an app and like the App Store, put it in, sell it. And some people are able to do some of that. I know that Inductive Automation has got quite quietly an app store that some of their customers and developers have developed a cool little app and they can sell it. So I don't know. I didn't probe any more about the marketplace idea with accelerator. Don't, we'll see how that evolves. But definitely as an ecosystem with partners and APIs and other ways of connecting so that they can connect a lot of people to it. And that's going, oh, MindSphere. So they I've written about this. They recently introduced Industrial Operations X, which is another modular component to go along this digital thread, and so on. We talked a lot about penetration and the percentage of customers they have in aerospace and defense and manufacturing and automotive and battery manufacturing and all kinds of stuff that are either exclusively Siemens or pretty close to it. So the company has been doing well. They've been moving along well. Had a talk with the vice president for industrial machinery, Rahul Gard, and we talked about a number of things, and one thing was metaverse. So metaverse came up here, and metaverse is interesting. But what I find most interesting is some of the people that are looking for true applications of metaverse are not talking about putting some sort of opaque ski goggle in front of your eyes and wear it around, which is awkward and feels bad, and you can't wear it for very long. I've put them on, maybe you have, and they don't last that long. And mostly, but you can do metaverse on flat screen, and I've seen examples of it from 2 or 3 companies. And the idea of metaverse isn't like fully immersive virtual reality, put the goggles on and waft yourself away to some netherland. This is really about deep, uh, providing deep knowledge. It's not just better visualization, say, of a part, or maybe I should say a machine. Instead of just being able to visualize a machine and maybe explode a view of its components or anything, it's more like I can look at the screen and I explode into a deeper view down to the motor bearing that's overheating, or a jam that an operator's got to clear. But more than that, I can overlay all kinds of information that I want without cluttering everything up, but I can still see enough that I can do diagnostics. I can clear a jam, or I can see how the machine's going. If I'm a division vice president and I have 20 plants under me, I can take a look at this metaverse idea on my screen and get an idea of the problems, and maybe consolidate what kind of problems are more typical. Um, Sometimes you can look at things and say, and go down to a motor manufacturer, say, wait a minute, I'm seeing this problem here, here, and here, and it's all due to X company's motors. Hey, procurement, see if you can go find us a better motor supplier. There's just myriad of opportunities such like that in metaverse, and so on. Couldn't leave this conversation without AI. So what's going on with AI? They talked about it some, not a lot. They have some things where through Team Center and other peripherals, you could say talk into a device, your phone or some device, which gets translated, and you could speak Spanish into it, and it comes out English somewhere else. AI, it's a version of it. But anyway, it also enables them to integrate into say Microsoft Teams along with Team Center, and spread this along. And so my observation out in the field, hey, I see this this pump motor is overheating somewhere, and that can get translated back, and somebody could then look at the details of temperature over time, vibration over time, and that sort of thing. They mentioned that 70% of quality issues go unreported. And so with using AI, metaverse, and modern communications tools, along with Team Center and Microsoft Teams integrated together, we could get better reporting, maybe more reporting, pick up some of those 70% of the quality problems that are unreported. And what's the whole idea? The whole idea is just better products, better output, less downtime. I guess you call that more efficiency and that sort of thing. But really, if what you're trying to do is provide good products to your customers, this is another way that they have of doing it. Let me see if there was anything else. There were just so many points that came out. Uh, they did have a customer come out. I haven't seen enough customers. Everybody talks about digital transformation. I thought, oh, maybe I can find a customer here that'll talk about what does digital transformation really mean. And I'm still not sure. I'm not happy with the definitions I've gotten, but I think it's just using digital to improve what we're trying to do. And I think some of these ideas could help our improve our relations with our workforce, either to upskill our workforce or to make them better, or collect ideas, because your workforce is just they're human beings and they have a ton of ideas and thoughts and observations that if you could tap into it, you can make things better and add more dignity and worth to the individual, which is super too, that you need to know. And a little bit about moving to the cloud. I took a few notes. So I didn't write all these notes down, so I'm just going through all the notes I scribbled while everybody was talking, which were a lot. A little bit about going to the cloud, but they talk about be careful when you talk about competitors or other people going to the cloud. Sometimes it's only the file. So you're just doing file sharing in the cloud, but you're still operating on-prem or on PC or whatever. When Siemens studied this and worked on it and put it together, when they said software as a service and in the cloud, they wanted it to mean actually in the cloud, that the software as a service and the software is up there. It gets its regular updates and everything, that you don't have to worry about. Security is part of the whole putting it together. As one executive says, if we don't build in security, why would we even do it? That's just expected, and we better do a good job of it. And that's what they're working on that. And to wrap it up again, say, look at my notes. Once again, digital thread, it's and what they're doing is working with another group within Siemens called Siemens Digital Industry, which probably goes back to my first comment about the guy I interviewed 16, 17 years ago. And what kind of it's unbelievable. I don't think I've ever seen a company with a vision like that last that long. And they just try things. MindSphere, they tried version 1 and see what happened. Which I equate to Apple's Vision Pro, which I think is version 1. They just throw it out there and see what people are going to do with it. So MindSphere, they threw it out there. So they tweaked it and they came back with MindSphere 2. And I talked to an executive when they came out with MindSphere 3, and they said, well, we've listened to the customers, we see how people are using it. And so we've made the modifications. And so now they've taken what they learned by putting it out there, letting people play with it, and they've integrated it into what they now call Insight Hub, which is part of this whole digital thread, which is part of the accelerator platform. So it's all coming together, and it's way cool. And I have to compliment Siemens, and I try not to be a terrible critic, but sometimes you just have to call people out when when they brag too much and there's too much hype. I'm not hearing much hype at this conference. They've kept me away from marketing people, I guess. And it seems like things are moving. They've integrated and people are using it. Satisfied customers, customer base is growing. So what else can I say? Look out for Siemens. So this is Gary. This is a wrap up of Siemens Digital Industries here live. Well, I'm recording live in Las Vegas. But I'd like to give a shout out to my sponsor, and you too could become a sponsor. Just email Gary at themanufacturingconnection.com and say, hey, I'd like to sponsor some of your work, which would be great. But anyway, my longtime sponsor that I appreciate their products, Inductive Automation. Discover a whole new perspective on industrial automation with Ignition. It's packed with innovative features for the modern control system, like unlimited licensing, high-powered tags, mobile-first flexibility, and an intuitive built-in design environment. It supports enterprises of any size or industry. See all Ignition has to offer at inductiveautomation.com. And if you want to start using it in the cloud, they now have a solution that's Ignition in the cloud. Go to inductiveautomation.com for more details. And I think you can start signing up for the Ignition Community Conference, ICC for 23 is also could be found at their website, and you can sign up for that. I hope to be there in September. And if you're going to be at that one, certainly give me a shout out and maybe we can chat for a moment or so. Thanks a lot. This is Gary Mitchell. Appreciate you listening to this report.